Ow! Stupid alarm! I was met with a piece of plywood to the face this morning when I got up, along with an annoying remix of some popular song that I couldn't care less about. See, normally I'm pretty good at not slamming my head into the bottom of an upper bunk, but it looked like today was just going to be another one of those days. Silently cursing, I threw off my covers and tossed my buzzing alarm clock, shambling my way into the bathroom in irritation. These stupid work hours. I mean, who opens a comic book shop at 7 in the morning? Breakfast is ready! Pig calls from the kitchen. It smells good, but I pretend not to care. Not only is Mr. Goody Two-Shoes accomplished in archery, speed delivery, and singing, but he can also cook. Yeah, the ladies love him. Patu, are you awake yet? What did I say about calling me that? I hollered from the bathroom with my head dunked in cold water. I mean, seriously, I despise that nickname. It may have been cute when we were little, but I'm 19 years old now. I have my own body, my own brain, and my own set of personal traits that make me who I am. I'm not just some carbon copy of my brother, despite the fact that our parents refused to acknowledge that. See, to them, I was just a twin. The pup who always followed another's lead. The one who was cast aside while his brother danced in the spotlight. In other words, I was just a identical but not so talented Pit. A Pit too. Dark, if you don't hurry, you're gonna be late, he calls to me. A few seconds later, I wander into the kitchen with the bedhead and dark blotches under my eyes. Yeesh, it's bright out here. I got time, I replied, grabbing a spoon and pouring myself a bowl of Super Mario O's. I didn't want to eat the wholesome breakfast he prepared for me, but that didn't stop him from placing a plate down beside my bowl, complete with an egg, a sausage, and a slice of toast. I growled in his direction, but I couldn't maintain it as he smirked with me with the cutesy apron he was wearing. You'll thank me later, he says. After all, the key to an active day is to start with a healthy breakfast. That's what Lady Palutena told me. I found myself rolling my eyes as he makes another nod to his stupid goddess. See, Pit was a practicer of the not-so-popular religion belonging to Palutena, the goddess of light. She was as beautiful as goddesses come, with her elegant gown and shimmering emerald hair. At least, that's how she was depicted in Pit's shrine anyway. The one near the exit of our apartment. He claims to have spoken to her before, but that's just a bunch of baloney. If she were any kind of real goddess, she would have given us the power to use our wings like they were supposed to be used. To this day, I still don't know why we were born flightless angels. Whatever. The next thing I know, I'm chomping down on some undercooked eggs, but that doesn't stop me from reluctantly thanking Pit for the food. Better get a move on since it's almost 8. Come to think of it, I'd better get ready too. He throws off the apron and practically swallows his meal before I get a chance to pour myself a glass of milk. Next thing I know, the dishes are in the dishwasher and he's prettying himself up for another day at the paratrooper post office. Wait, did he just say it was 8? I checked the clock and nearly spit out my drink. I realized that I overslept. In the midst of the calamity, I somehow scarfed down my food and beat Pitch to the bathroom just as he was about to enter. Hey! I slammed the door in his face. What gives? 3 seconds later, I was clean groomed, for the most part, and shut away in my room to get dressed. You moron! I shout while stumbling into my jeans. Why didn't you tell me that I overslept? I thought you set an alarm clock. I did! I glanced at the clock on the floor, noticing that both hands were frozen stiff. Dang thing's broken! I looked up, and he was already standing there at my door, decked out in his uniform with the mail bag slung over his shoulder. He seemed to be rather amused by my struggles. Well, that's your fault then, was all he said before strutting to the exit. Come on, I'll lock up. I felt the urge to knock him on the head, but my will managed to overcome my temper. I couldn't afford another late day, as I was already on my 3rd strike with the manager, and without thinking, I slipped into whatever shirt I could find, grabbed my lanyard, and bust my butt past my brother without saying anything. I hear him shut the door behind me, and before he has the time to call out goodbyes after me, I was already down the steps and on the street. Welcome to New Smashopolis, home of the filthy, the rich, and the filthy and not so rich. Pitt and I have lived here for most of our young adult lives, although it wasn't until this past year we had started living on our own. Before that, we were looked after by foster parents, and although secondary school and then after graduating, I had never looked back since. It's been an uphill struggle, but I like the freedom compared to how things used to be. In the city, there were 2 main districts, the East End and the West End, both interconnected by a backbone known as the Golden Rod Bridge. Pitt and I are from the West End, and it's where you get most of your businesses, shops, and it's divided into 4 main areas: the housing, the public areas, and 2 more areas for everything else. The East End is probably the worst side of the 2 because over there you got most of the slums, but they also have nice restaurants, parks, and strip clubs. The city as a whole is known for its art and technology, being one of its prime producers in electronic entertainment, although these jobs are left to the bigger corporations. During the day, the streets are mostly vacant. The night, however, is when the city truly comes alive. You can typically expect to bump into someone you know if you just so happen to be taking a stroll down Dreamland Street after hours. I end up crossing the street on my way to work, pedaling my shoes as fast as I can before making it to Forsyth Avenue. Traffic is a pain, but thankfully I've never had to stop at crosswalks. Eventually, I arrive at this hole-in-the-wall location, squashed between a room for rent and some Asian cuisine place. I'm sweating a little and check one of the town clocks to see how late I am. 49 minutes. Great. This was probably going to be it for me. The boss had already threatened me more than once after the accidents last week. According to him, he had 2 more potential hirees waiting to be called in if I couldn't fit the bill. Not that I cared one way or another, since I was supposed to be up and out of this job a few days ago, actually. Maybe this will make Pitt think twice before sticking his nose where it doesn't belong again. Silently, I push my way through the door, and the bell above chiming my entrance. I am immediately met by the sight of my coworker, who could have looked a bit more enthusiastic to see me. "Late again, Kuro," he says. "That's your 3rd strike." Well, I suppose good morning isn't as popular as it used to be. My alarm clock didn't wake me up at the right time, I scoff, making my way down alongside the aisles of cardboard boxes. My coworker nudges the sign-in sheet in my direction, where I'm presented with 2 more tardy mentions of my track record. Next thing I know, I'm writing down my name and thinking of some shoddy excuse I could use as to why I'm late again. A gloved hand stopped me from filling out the details. "Don't sweat it, kid. Got you covered," he said to me. I stare at the sharp eyes beneath the lens of his helmet, unable to tell if he was being serious or pulling my leg. For his sake, he better not be. "What?" "I won't tell old DDD," he says quietly. "Just come in on time and I'll vouch for you. He hasn't left his office all morning." I steal a glance at the figurine shelves to the door labeled employees only. Beyond that contained Popstar's comics only bathroom, as well as a storage closet, inventory, and most importantly, my boss's room. And for a moment, I thought I saw the door sway by some unknown force, or perhaps that was just my imagination. "What's the catch, Falcon?" I asked my coworker. His name wasn't actually Falcon, but it was the only one that I settled with after the list he gave me. There are a few reasons why I didn't fully trust the guy, and one of them had to do with her very first encounter. "Catch?" he replies. "There is no catch. I'm just trying to do you a favor." He takes back the sheet and slides it under the counter. "Just pretend that nothing happened. You arrived at the same time I did." He gives me a nod and a small smirk, but ultimately, I'm apathetic. Me not being fired right here and now is more or less prolonging the inevitable. "Fine," I mutter. "So, what are we doing today?" "Same thing as yesterday, and the day before," Falcon shrugs. "Get some boxes, bring them out here, and I'll sort them as they come out." His orders punch me like small needles, but I suck it up and follow through with the assigned duty. This is what sucks about being the new guy. More or less, I become the grunt who has to handle the monotonous tasks. Pick up a comic book, move it over there, pick up another one, blah, blah, blah. I mean, no matter what, I'm being paid peanuts. I suppose this is a good time to talk about Popstar Comics and its bizarre employees. They opened a month ago, and a family-owned business under the name DDD. From what I've gathered during my little time working here, the store specializes in selling Nintendo-branded products. For those who don't know, Nintendo is one of, if not the biggest comic book publishing company in the world. They have fans all across the globe, all poor suckers who could easily sell out hundreds of dollars of merchandise if it just so happens to have that big N stamped onto it. I'm not just talking about comic books, I'm talking about action figures, board games, clothing, blankets, junk food, you name it. Oh, and bobbleheads. Those stupid bobbleheads. Long story short, Popstar Comics is a Nintendo fanboy's wet dream, and I'd be lying to you if I told you I hadn't seen these weirdos for myself the odd times I was working the register. They come in packs, usually 2 or 3, all huddled around the next cringe-inducing issue of the Super Mario Bros. Or the Legend of Zelda comics. Occasionally, you'll get the 29-year-old virgin neckbeard wandering to the store, slobbering all over the mint condition issues of the Nintendo classics, like Balloon Fighter or Excite Bike. Others, or what I'd like to call normal people, just poke their heads in only to be driven away by the putrid smell of body odor and mold. Interestingly, the store has only been open to the public for about a month, and we are already up to our necks in meeting order and pre-order deadlines. As I carry boxes out of the back room and like someone's pet monkey, I can't help but notice that DDD's closet closed door from the corner of my eye. There's a small sticker on it that reads manager, but it's a wonder that anyone like him could have earned that position. Every time I see him, he's either in there watching Japanese cartoons or some other nerdy crap. When he's not fiddling with his collection of teenage girl figurines, he's out in the front barking at me that I'm doing something wrong. Easy on the merchandise. You don't want to spread dust all over, and for crying out loud, will you stop dragging your feet everywhere? Oh yeah, I'll start dragging my feet everywhere right after I drag your body outside so I can, hey, how's it going? Falcon's voice passes over my head as he greets a customer that's walking in. And like the dog I am, I keep my mouth shut and continue placing boxes. The customer gives me no notice, and soon enough, he's at the counter chatting it up with Falcon. And about when we were going to have the next issue of the Pokemon on our shelves, I blissfully ignore them. Douglas Falcon was probably the strangest character in this building by far. The first time I met him, it was during the interview, and he asked me for me to show him his moves. I honestly had no idea how to answer him, but that didn't stop him and DDD from laughing in my face at how confused I looked. The real interview commenced shortly thereafter, but I swear most of the questions they asked me were just to make sure I wasn't retarded. And of course, what interview is complete without the classic, "What's your biggest weakness?" question? I told them that I have a short temper. They laughed again. A few weeks after that, I got a call from DDD saying that I got the job and that I was to start the first Monday after the weekend. It had almost been 9 days since then, but I can't say that I found enjoyment in this new environment. The assignments were so menial. Not to mention that all anyone ever does around here is tell me what to do. And Captain Falcon, he's the worst of them all. You see, he has a real attitude, that guy. And I'm not just saying that out of spite either. He outright refuses to tell me his real name several times over the course of the first few days. I had to go to another coworker to get his full name, which I can confirm to this point is Douglas J. Bullet, or Douglas J. Falcon. He refuses to respond to anyone that calls him his first name though, saying that if you're gonna talk to him, you better either call him Captain Falcon or just Falcon for short. I do it for the fans, he told me one time. All the kids love Captain Falcon. He's what one might call a cross-dresser. A cosplayer. He cosplays Captain Falcon, who apparently is a hero in F-Zero, a series from Nintendo comic books. The story has it that it has something to do with the street racing in outer space with aliens, while Captain Falcon works as a bounty hunter who fights dangerous criminals and bringing them to justice. And so every day, Falcon struts in a Popstar comics wearing a tight blue racing suit and a flaming crash helmet that covers half of his face, just like Captain Falcon does in the series. And he admits, however, that even though F-Zero is not as popular as it once was, true fans still visit the shop in hopes of taking pictures with their all-time favorite superhero. See, that's funny, because I have yet to see someone enter the shop and recognize him as Captain Falcon instead of some flamboyant bodybuilder. He'd be able to help you out, says Falcon. All of a sudden, I notice him point a glove finger at me, directing the customer. I stand up, furrowing my eyebrows at the next ridiculous task he was going to assign me. Kuro, can you help this man find Pokemon Ruby issue number 63? The customer approaches me and almost mechanically, I drop what I'm doing and start filling out one of the boxes on the table. Falcon had shown me how to do this before, and the procedure was brain dead simple, but I wasn't about to screw it up again. I fished out the comic, pressing my fingers over each issue until number 63 came up, charmingly wrapped in plastic. I handed it to the customer, who appeared to be somewhat paranoid by the way I handled it. Figures he was just another wannabe collector. Falcon gave me a nod, and then the man was back at the counter checking out for the day. I resumed my task without saying a word, not even to the customer who gave me thanks. Do I have a problem? No. I just wish that I wasn't working this stupid job anymore. See, give it another late day and maybe these morons will finally get the idea that I'm sick of this place. The only reason why I was here was that I was doing it to appease Pitstain, and I did promise him that I would give it another week at least. Well, it'll be 2 weeks by this Friday, and personally, I think I've overstayed my welcome. These guys over on the east probably have been dying to see me again. Before the whole comic book thing started, I was just a street punk who spent a little too much time in the city after dark. I liked it though, having the free time to do what I want. Out there, I had people who always wanted to hang out with me. I felt a sense of belonging, a sense of friendship, and I sure as heck didn't feel much more respected than I do at home. Sure, it wasn't the safest place to be every night, but I made a name for myself, and in less than a year, becoming the dark angel that everyone recognized as Kuro. It even says it on my name tag. Kuro, DDD asked my name at the interview. Well, that's a weird name. What is it, Japanese? Honestly, I had no idea where it originated from, but it sounded a hell of a lot cooler than DDD. My name stuck with me ever since I started living in the streets, and I kinda grown accustomed to it. I didn't tell Falcon or DDD about my real name, seeing as how there was no point. I was dead set on leaving this place the first chance I got, and soon enough, Kuro will be able to reclaim the name that he had once held for himself. I finished moving the boxes, and Falcon had come over to cut them open. As expected, the boxes were filled to the brim with comics, and mostly old issues of series that hadn't been shelved yet. Even though they had been here for the past few weeks, Popstar Comics was still in the middle of unloading merchandise. You'd think they would have done this long before the grand opening. Morning, fellas! DDD finally emerges from the shadows of his office looking like he just woke up. He howls a yawn, hobbling over to the counters to inspect the sign-in sheet. I watched him for a few seconds as he glazes over the names and his eyes catches mine. Went to bed earlier last night, Kuro? He asks. Falcon gives me a glance as I respond. Yeah, that's what I like to hear. Once you start getting used to the routines, it'll be like second nature to you. As if. Wednesdays were starting at 7 in the morning, then 9 on Thursdays, followed by noon on Fridays. My schedule is literally anything but routine. I don't say much, and he knows it. I come off as one of those introverted types when we first met. Yet he still has the nerve to hire me anyway. I shake my head and get back to work, holding Falcon's books as he starts laying them out and putting them in their proper locations. It's at this point when I decide for good that I'm not just gonna show up for tomorrow. Walking out right now was an option, but I didn't want to have to own up to these bozos. I figured that one more day wasn't gonna kill me. A full week's pay was also nice. So I held my tongue and behaved like a good dog for most of the day. I answered questions, I directed customers to where they needed to go, and I swept the floors until they shined. I am Kuro. I am the angel of darkness and follower of none. Before the end of the day, when we were cleaning up, DDD approached me with a pat on the back, with Falcon taking a bathroom break. It seemed that he wanted to meet me in private, or as private as you could get with a store that had windows on each side of the room. "You've done some good work, kid," says DDD. "Even though you've only been here a couple of weeks, you've really helped pick up the slack around here." I gave him a queer look, broom in hand. "I'm always late, though," I reply. "I'm not a good worker." I try my best to drop a hint, but it looks like his ignorance outsmarts him. "I can tell, and I'll let it slide as long as you don't complain much. I know these work hours aren't flexible for everyone, especially those," he pauses. "Wait, you're still in school, right?" "No," I say as a matter of fact. "I hate school." "Oh, well in that case, I'm glad that you decided to choose us as your first job." Not like I really had a choice. "Thanks, I guess," is all I muster. I really wasn't sure what I was supposed to say. Maybe now might not be a bad time to tell him that I planned on jumping ship. "Because you've been a big help around here," he winks at me. "I've been getting a big surprise ready for you and the other guys." And this, of course, piques my interest. The thought of getting something more than dirt pay and a sweaty back from this job, what could he be talking about? A raise? Better hours? Am I getting a raise? I blurt. Whether I was spoiling the supplies or not, I didn't care. He grins at me, but I was unable to decipher the context. "You could look at it that way," he says. "I already mentioned this to the other two, so I figured I might save it for tomorrow when you're all here." He pats me on the back, which comes off as a firm pound. So make sure that you're here bright and early tomorrow for the great unveiling of this big surprise. He waddles off with a laugh, which all of a sudden makes me skeptical about the whole thing. Turns out, however, that DDD was not in fact joking, and that he did in fact have something big planned for tomorrow. Was he really gonna give me a raise? In any case, it was at this moment I decided to postpone my retirement for one day. At least I could see what all the fuss was about. I mean, if DDD comes up to me and says he was going to start paying me 3 times my salary and knocking an hour off my work days, then maybe I'll stick around for a little longer. I mean, money is money after all. I couldn't let Pitt live with the satisfaction that I was actually happy with this job, so for now, I just decided to keep DDD's little announcement a secret. To him, this is just another dreary day of shop organizing and box moving. Another day in paradise.